Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town. Oh, the butcher and the baker and the people on the streets, where do they go? To meet the Mets! Oh, they're hollering and cheering and they're jumping in their seats. Where do they go? To meet the Mets! All the fans are true to the orange and blue, so hurry up and come on down, 'cause we got ourselves a ball club, the Mets of New York town. Give 'em a yell, give 'em a hand, and let 'em know you're rooting in the stand. Come on and meet the Mets, meet the Mets. Step right up and greet the Mets. Bring your kiddies, bring your wife. Guaranteed to have the time of your life, because the Mets are really socking the ball, knocking those home runs over the wall. East side, west side, everybody's coming down to meet the METS Mets of New York town, of New York town.
And we are live, Mets and baseball fans overall. Thank you guys so much for chiming in. It is stream number 2 on the day, and stream number, 1,000 over the past couple days, covering all the latest in the MLB and the Mets overall on the free agent frenzy front, and all the trades that are transpiring, have transpired, and will continue to, hopefully within the coming hours. A lot to get into tonight, folks. Really, just over the last couple hours since last time we talked on the channel. Of course, as soon as I went off live, we had a blockbuster trade that transpired. So we'll start by talking about that. Then we'll get into what are the other big rumors that we're seeing tonight, what can potentially be had by time that the live stream is done, and how are the New York Mets looking? Are there any rumblings? Well, there actually are at least a little bit some things that are going to intrigue you guys. Maybe it's not going to intrigue you guys. We'll deep dive it all, and I'll be answering all your questions as always. But first of all, thank you guys so much for being in here to my 400 plus viewers array. Make sure to smash that like and subscribe button. If you guys are watching in replay, thank you guys so much for being here as well. But enough, without further ado, let's dive right in, folks. Like I said, we got a lot to break down, plenty to discuss. But I think what needs to be discussed overall starts with the blockbuster, right? Everybody, initial reaction in the chat right now. What's your reaction? Who do you think won that trade between the Reds and the Mariners? I think the Mariners easily won that trade. And boy, oh boy, no one expected that. The same way that no one expected the trade yesterday with Donaldson and the Twins and the Yankees. We expected Olsen to be traded, so that, I expected for sure. But to see Jesse Winker, the stud lefty power bat, and Eugenio Suarez that a year ago, many of us Mets fans, including myself, talked about a lot as a possibility of landing Queens. They get shipped off to, yes, the Seattle Mariners in return for Justin Dunn, the former New York Mets draft pick that was part of that Robinson Cano and Kelenic trade. Yes, I know. We don't need to talk about that, along with 2 other pieces. But overall, this was a pretty clear win in my eyes for the Mariners. Just a fantastic move for them. I mean, there's really no other way to look about it. They get themselves a massive power bat. That's one of the best bats in all of the league against righty pitching. When you look at the division that he's now in, that's a righty pitching heavy division now too. So overall, love that move for the Mariners. They get that power bat. But what does that tell me? And of course, they take on the contract as well of Eugenio Suarez. But guys, while of course anything can happen for sure, I would say that the likelihood of the Mariners landing Chris Bryant or Michael Conforto is not as great now that they have made these acquisitions. And it's not because of the fact necessarily the positions they play, because yes, Winker plays corner outfield. That's what you can get with a KB. And Eugenio Suarez is a natural third baseman, has played at short too. But it really comes down to, in my opinion, the money. If you're going to take on Eugenio Suarez's contract, the 35 million or so that's left on the deal, 35 to 50, one of those two. I'm blanking on the numbers right now. Either way, Seattle's not known for spending. We know that they're a team that is smaller market, so I do not expect them to be in the running as much for Chris Bryant or Michael Conforto. And while I don't necessarily believe that there's great hopes of the Mets landing a Chris Bryant especially, it's not impossible right now. But again, if it does happen, it would be a shorter term type deal. But no less, Mariners, they did a blockbuster move. I love that move for them. Fantastic move for them. That's really, really all I can say. To bring that lefty bat, that power bat in the middle of that lineup is going to do them wonders. And also talking about other power bats, other big lefty power bats, Freddie Freeman. It looks like he's going to be a Toronto Blue Jay. It's not official yet, but we've seen endless reporting. It was initially came out a couple hours ago by a report. Chris Bryant is heading to Denver. It is not official yet on KB where he's going to land, even though the Rockies are pushing unbelievably heavy for him. So if it does in fact happen, no one should be surprised by that whatsoever. But again, yeah, the Rockies have prioritized KB, and that goes in hand with also looking at the Blue Jays here separately. Freddie Freeman, it was reported a couple hours ago by a reporter who actually broke the Marcus Semien news last offseason for the Blue Jays, along with some other news. I'm trying to think of the other moves that he announced himself, but you've had many players that are already kind of acting, acknowledging it for the Blue Jays. So nothing's official yet, but it does look like that, yes, Freddie Freeman may very well be heading to the Toronto Blue Jays. Remember, he does have dual citizenship. So that is something to keep in mind. And I will tell you this. As a Mets fan, there's nothing that I would want more. Freddie Freeman is not going to come. Obviously, if Freddie Freeman is not coming to the Mets, we know that. So if Freeman, he's done with the Braves, this is a win. If he doesn't go to the Dodgers, he goes to the Blue Jays. It's very easy to root for the Blue Jays. They're such a fun team to watch. I'll be rooting for Freddie. Freddie's always been one of my favorite players in the league and my least favorite team. One of them for sure. So the fact that Freddie may very well be in Toronto. One, I like the Blue Jays. They're such a fun young team to watch. And two, that will give me even further incentive now. So Freddie, we'll see what happens, but it does look like that there's a very solid chance, very strong chance, I should say, that Freddie Freeman is going to land with the Dodgers. And it also looks like Kyle Schwarber is being heavily pursued by the Toronto Blue Jays as well. Now, granted, I don't see the Blue Jays landing both of them. If the Blue Jays land both of them, then they win the offseason offensively. There's no denying that. That just would be ridiculous. I mean, the Blue Jays already have one of the best offenses in the league as is, even after losing Semien. So now they're going to not just bring in Freeman, but potentially Schwarber too. I think they're going to land one of those big lefty bats either way. Reports are indicating that it does look like that the Blue Jays are among the favorites right now, the front runners for him. And of course, we also see that Freddie Freeman looks like he may very well land in Toronto. So we'll see what happens. But again, I would love it if Freeman goes to Toronto. That means he doesn't go to the Yankees, and I'll eat that up for breakfast for sure. And same thing, of course, with Kyle Schwarber. Schwarber, if he stays in the AL, if he's not going to come to the Mets, I don't want him anywhere near the Mets, right? So then keep him in the AL. I'm happy with either of those things. But I am going to check my Twitter real quick because you guys are telling me to do. I'm going to check tweets right now. And again, guys, if you don't know how these live streams work, where we cover all the latest news, not just for the Mets front, but the MLB with the free agency and trade stuff going on. If you guys see that I missed a tweet or something that needs to be acknowledged from a report and I don't acknowledge it yet, please let me know in the live stream or let me know on Twitter by tagging me at WardyNYM. Either way works. And again, thank you guys so much for being here. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on as always, folks. Appreciate it. Plenty to deep dive. Again, we have so much to talk about. And yes, we're going to talk about Eddie Rosario plenty here in just a couple minutes, so bear with me. But again, continue smashing those buttons, guys. Help us get to 300 likes for the first short-term goal in the stream. We have over 700 viewers. I know you guys can do it. And again, thank you so much in advance. Okay, folks, I'm checking Twitter right now. You guys want me to check Trevor May for some reason? I will do just that. Again, bear with me. Nothing new from Trevor May, so I don't know what I'm checking there. Yeah, nothing new. Nothing new on the Trevor May front or anything like that. So again, guys, if you see any reports, please let me know. Please for sure let me know. I appreciate it. Let's see. And I'm doing great, Joseph. Again, shout out to every single one of you guys in the live stream. A lot is going on. But without further ado, let's talk about what is going on the offensive front, guys. I may sneeze in a minute. I apologize. Like I said, allergies have been killing me all week. Yes, we know that McCutchen is going to Milwaukee. Excuse me. Yes, we know McCutchen is going to Milwaukee. It's actually funny because earlier I did my live stream and I had Milwaukee sign McCutchen, and you guys didn't tell me until like an hour and a half in the live stream that it wasn't official yet. And when I read the tweet again, I realized I misread it originally, because it originally said from Ken Rosenthal, I believe, that they were talking to McCutchen, but it wasn't official yet. Well, now it is official. In case you guys aren't aware, Milwaukee has signed Andrew McCutchen. I don't know the exact details of the contract right now. If you guys find out, let me know in the live stream. I appreciate that. But yeah, Andrew McCutchen, a very solid depth bat for them / DH, can be utilized in multiple ways for the Milwaukee Brewers. But let's talk about Nathan. Please shut up. You have no right to complain about the Mets this offseason. I'm sorry. Love you, Nathan, but stop it. Let's talk for a second about Eddie Rosario. So we talked a lot. We talked extensively last night about Eddie Rosario in last night's live stream, because Pat Ragazza, my good buddy who covers the Mets on the beat, said that Rosario feels like a very good fit. Should the Mets still add a bat, especially an outfield bat, a lefty bat? I always kept thinking that Eddie Rosario was a righty because of Ahmad Rosario, believe it or not. And if you guys are wondering why am I getting them confused so much, other than him being a Met, I have an Ahmad Rosario Brooklyn Cyclones little thing right here, and I have Michael Conforto being the other one, high-fiving him. So that's the exact reason why. But the point I'm trying to make is that we talked a lot about Eddie last night, and I did see rumblings of the Mets having discussions with Jock Pearson. That looks like it has died, or at least it didn't go far, because Jock Pearson looks like he's going to head back to the Atlanta Braves. Jock himself actually retweeted and liked a tweet saying that Jock was close to signing a one-year deal over $10 million with the Braves. And then we saw reports soon after that Jock and the Braves have rekindled discussions again to try to really make something happen where he stays with the Braves for another year. So Jock, who I definitely did like as a lefty bat option for the Mets, he looks like he may very well be off the board. So now let's talk about Eddie Rosario, because Eddie, coincidentally enough, if you guys follow me on Twitter, you probably know this by now. I tweeted this. Guys, before I went live tonight, I was working on thumbnails and working on potential scenarios that I tried to make sure I do prep work, basically. And what I did was I made a thumbnail saying the Mets sign Eddie Rosario. If you guys don't know, I have a bunch of pre-made thumbnails. A lot of scenarios that didn't happen, like Carlos Rodon, Clayton Kershaw, etc. Just anything that can happen for agent-wise, I try to make sure I'm up to date. Did his graphic and stuff. And right when I was done doing that, I look to my right on my other monitor, and I see that Matthew, actually in the live stream, tags me on Twitter in a post that someone caught from Eddie Rosario's Instagram video 6 or 7 hours ago. Him taking a couple hacks, in BP in the backyard. He has his buddy throwing to him, whoever it was. The buddy looked like from afar he had a Dodgers kind of jacket on. It was hard to see, but it looked like it was the Dodgers LA logo. But when he was throwing the ball, he was grabbing the ball from the bucket of baseballs. And in the bucket of baseballs, that bucket itself had a New York Mets logo on it. And it was quite obvious. And there were also people believing that Rosario had orange gloves on. It was hard to tell, especially it looks like that there was almost like a filter on the video. I couldn't tell if it was orange gloves or if it was, some type of red. Because remember, he did just come from the Braves. He played with the Indians, now Guardians, and he played with the Twins. All teams that would warrant having red gloves so I couldn't tell for certain. But what I can tell you is that from what I've seen today, coincidentally enough, the Mets have been in connection with Eddie Rosario. It's not reported. You're not going to see it out there. So if you don't believe me, that's perfectly fine. I'm just telling you what I know, because everything that I have been informed prior to things happening has actually come to fruition. Plenty of it has, I should say, for the most part. So we'll see exactly what happens. Eddie Rosario, though, lefty bat, playoff hero, playoff MVP. We know that for the Braves. Would definitely give you that depth bat for the Mets. Outfielder that you can split time with Mark Canha, especially, even though that I would say that it would actually be maybe a little bit of split time with Nimmo, or it depends, because Eddie is more so left fielder, I would say, than he is just playing all over the diamond outfield wise, even though he can. And again, is someone that if you can balance as that kind of righty-lefty matchup, depending on what pitcher you're facing, that is definitely not a bad thing. So Eddie isn't a guy that, I'm going to be, thinking, okay, this is our X factor for winning a World Series by any means. But for what the Mets probably still need right now when it comes to depth-wise for their outfield, just a bat overall, another lefty bat, it doesn't hurt to add someone like Eddie Rosario. And should it happen, I will be very happy. I'm not going to complain. I'll be ecstatic. I'm sure I'll be more pumped up than I am right now because, again, there is plenty of upside Eddie Rosario. Just the main thing about him, again, he's a low on-base guy. But if you're going to get a bench bat, especially / a depth outfielder that you're splitting time with Mark Canha, it's not the end of the world because of how clutched up he has been. Again, the team do with the run that he did with the Braves was awesome. What type of production would he do for the Mets in the scenario that they sign him? We don't necessarily know, but again, as a depth bat in itself, you can't go wrong. It's very similar in my mind to the sense of I'm not in favor of Robinson Cano. You guys know that. Most of you guys aren't a Robinson Cano lover after what has transpired with him during his Mets tenure. But assuming Cano is going to get at bats this year and hopefully he's productive, that's all that matters for me at the end of the day. As long as these guys are productive and they make this team better, that's what matters. And the Mets are in a position where they have depth. They're going to continue to add, but they're going to have enough depth where they're going to really be able to ride the hot hand, not just defensively, but offensively more than anything. Again, the whole point of being able to balance things on matchups is really important in my eyes. When you have that versatility, that's where you get somewhere. Now, again, is it impossible for the Mets to land, say, a Chris Bryant, a Kyle Schwarber? It's not impossible, but there's nothing to indicate right now that the Mets are close with either of those bigger names. The Mets would really just have to come in, swoop in like an eagle or something and just snag them, where just no one expected it. That's kind of the feeling that we're getting right now, especially with the teams that are looking like the front runners again for the Rockies. Rockies are heavily in on Chris Bryant. They're heavily prioritizing him. And for Kyle Schwarber, a lot of teams want Kyle Schwarber, but the Blue Jays are among the favorites reportedly. Again, anything can happen. Same way we thought Seiya Suzuki was going to the Padres earlier today. It can still happen, but he is going to meet with the Chicago Cubs. I did see that just reported over the past, 20 minutes or so. So again, guys, I'm going to address plenty of your comments here shortly. Make sure to continue smashing that like and subscribe on if you guys are enjoying the live stream. Again, God bless. Thank you guys all so much for being here. Hopefully an exciting night. A lot of moves have happened. The hot stove has indeed been hot. Crazy stuff has happened over the past 24 to 48 hours in the baseball world. Outside of Chris Bassit going to the New York Mets, as you see on the wall behind me. Big stuff trade-wise. And the Oakland A's and the Cincinnati Reds are officially in full sell mode, which does tell you you'd have to imagine the Mets at the very least, kick tires with one or both of those clubs regarding their pitchers or Matt Chapman. Because, again, it's very, very hard to look at what the A's and what the Reds are doing and that the Mets don't at least chime in. Even if they doesn't get far, if the value's too high, which very well can be a possibility, you have to make sure you're at least chiming in because the Reds just did a Jesse Winker, Eugenio Suarez trade and lost it completely. And the Reds, their incompetence shows year in and year out. They're a team that will not be willing to spend. They have a schmuck owner, and they are just, again, one of those teams that ends up becoming a farm for other. They are in a lot of ways the Oakland A's of the NL. And I'm not going to say the Pittsburgh Pirates are, because the Pirates are a team that hasn't had the same level of success. Reds have had some very decent teams in recent years. They haven't had the playoff success, but they're one of those teams that, makes a little bit more noise or has higher expectations than maybe you'd imagine, but they don't get far. A lot of similarities there. What they both have in common is, again, cheap ownership, and they are in full sell mode right now, A's and Reds alike. So, going to be addressing a couple donations here, guys. Going to blow my nose out real quick because if you can't tell, I am stuffy. So I apologize. Just give me 1 second, folks, and then I'm going to answer your donations and answer a bunch of your questions. And we're good to go. Okay, so let's see. First donation I saw was from Independent Outsider. Thank you so much for the donation, my friend. Hype in the chat for Independent Outsider. Appreciate that donation. With these signings, I am more concerned about Mets injuries this year. News on conditioning, medical staff improvements, focus on reducing injuries. I know that the Mets have improved their medical staff a little bit. I know that they did an overhaul to a certain extent on everything. Obviously, they did with front office. I would assume that the medical staff is better than what it has been. And yes, there's always going to be concerns with the Mets and injuries. We already know that Taijuan Walker, there's hope that he'll be ready for the season start. but he is coming off of a minor surgery that he had on his right knee back in mid-January, which again isn't anything to be concerned about all that much, but it's just one of those things that, of course, we didn't know originally. We saw Pete Alonso, thankfully he's okay, but he was in that massive car accident. Thank God no one got hurt in that, because boy, oh boy, was that terrifying. And then also you saw Starling Marte's dealing with slight oblique soreness, nothing that you see in x-rays or anything like that. So he'll be fine, but obliques, you can't rush again. So yeah, I agree. The big health is always going to be a concern with the Mets. Even when you think it's not going to be, it will always be. So we need to be on guard for that. I think the Mets are in a fine spot, but what I do think is that the Mets need to make sure that they do not stop now. They're not done making moves. We're aware of that, but they need to make sure that they land one more bat, because of the fact that all it takes is one injury in that outfield, and then you're potentially banking on too much from the likes of a Khalil Lee and or Nick Plummer. Dom Smith, can he play left? You can put him in left. Doesn't mean he's an outfielder. We've all been through this stuff before. The Mets, they need to make sure that they have quality depth. We're aware of that. They have plenty on the pitching front now too, but they need to make sure that they just have it well rounded. So I'm really not awfully concerned, but as an older team especially, you need to make sure that you are being cautious and putting your players in the right situations, not overworking them. I shouldn't even say that, because obviously guys are getting huge plate appearances, but I think you guys are getting what I'm saying. But again, Independent Outsider, thank you so much for the donation. I know I'm behind in the chat right now. I do apologize, guys. I just want to address these donations quick, and then I'm going to get to all of you as fast as I possibly can. And again, thank you all so much, everyone, for the donations and the support, the likes. Really appreciate that. 900 plus people will crack 1,000 before I know it. And again, I'm beyond humbled and grateful to say that, because you guys are amazing. So thank you so much for all the big support. It really does mean a lot. Pat Metz, surprised the Reds are trading away instead of building up. Why are they holding Votto, who could be a lefty DH for someone? Side note, starting extras with runner on second, maybe back in 2022. Yes, I did see that the Union and the MLB are discussing ghost runners again. They're schmucks. I hope they don't do that. Ghost runners suck. That's my opinion. That is my sturdy opinion. I absolutely hate it. So hopefully that doesn't happen. But to answer what you also said, I'm really not all that surprised. I actually almost made a video this offseason just speaking hypothetically about potentially the Mets going after one of the Reds pitchers and Jesse Winker, especially with the DH in place, to land that lefty bat, that corner outfield bat as well, while also getting one of their pitchers, because Winker is going to be due for a good payday soon. Reds don't want to pay it. They're trying to max out on his value. The only issue is they by no means maxed out on this guy's value. As long as Winker is healthy this year, he's going to rake. Trust me. He really found a groove in his game over this past year and a half, 2 years now. He's going to be something special for the Seattle Mariners. Really going to help take their lineup to another level. Pat Metz, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. John, thank you so much for the $20 donation. Really appreciate that too. Hype in the chat for John. Appreciate the streams as always. Thank you so much, my friend. Always giving us Mets fans content. Keep up the great work. Thank you, John. Really, really appreciate that. Hope you're doing well, buddy. All right, now I'm going to go all the way through the chat right now. Again, we got a lot of people in here, and I know I'm going to be repeating myself on a lot of things. That's what happens when we're in live streams. That's okay. Dan from North Dakota, what's up, my friend? Thank you so much for the kind words. Again, if the Mets are going to add Eddie Rosario type, I'm not against it by any means, to definitely add in the corner. So we'll see what happens. Trade Dom for Chapman. Here's the thing. Mets would be in favor for that, but the A's would want more than Dom Smith for Matt Chapman. I don't see that happening for just Matt Chapman. Mets would have to give more. That's what you would think, at least. The A's aren't stupid with their trades. I honestly thought that their trade for Olsen today, I think that they won that trade. I thought they won that trade getting the Braves number 1, number 2, number 6, number 14 prospects for a guy that they knew that they weren't bringing back. I thought that was a very good move. John, thank you so much for the $2 donation. I appreciate that as well. I'm in the chat for John. Are we done with big moves? I think the Mets. Okay. What defines it as a big move to you, John? Right? Is a big move only Chris Bryant or Kyle Schwarber? If that's what you think, then yeah, I would say that there's a solid chance that isn't going to happen. However, big move. Is Andrew Chafin a big move to you? I think Andrew Chafin's a big move to you for the bullpen. Mets desperately need a lefty. If they get the best lefty on the market, sign me the hell up, right? And the Mets somehow, some way do a blockbuster for Josh Hader. That's a big move, obviously. Again, not getting my hopes on it, but we know that there's been connections. So that's something to keep in mind. It all depends on what you define as a big move. How impactful is it? I do not think the Mets are going to land any big bat unless those big bats land on the New York Mets on a short-term deal. I would like to make that clear. It's not the fact that the Mets do not want these players. It's the fact that you have to look at the type of term with these contracts based on the current roster construction and the specific guys that they have in the organization that are destined to be having an impact in the next 2 years. It depends. It really, really does depend. Let's see here. I have heard rumblings that the Mets gave Chris Bryant a short-term contract offer. I don't know how significant that is. I did see rumblings of that from people that I'm close to that are part of the Mets organization earlier today. Actually, it was after that Twitter post was separate. Could that be true? Yes, for sure. But it doesn't mean that that means that the Mets are really prioritizing KB or that they're close with him. So again, if the Mets land KB, I think they really need to do something that like separates himself from the rest of the pack. And obviously, same thing can be said with Kyle Schwarber. Okay, let's see. Offer him 270. My goodness. Josh, thank you so much for the donation. Am I the only one who feels the Mets still need a bat? No, I think most people in the live stream right now will tell you they would like the Mets to land another bat. But not just bats, but again, I really just want to talk for a minute with you guys about the Oakland A's and the Cincinnati Reds. I do not think that the Mets are going to go up and land another big starter. If they land another starter, if at all, it's going to be a depth starter, my humble opinion. But the fact that you have Frankie Montas and Shamania inevitably going to be dealt in the coming days to week, right? It feels like it feels like all those pieces in Oakland are destined to be gone. They're already over halfway there. No, around halfway there, I should say. They already parted with obviously Olsen and Bassett. And then the Reds, same exact thing. Castillo, Molly, and then they also have a Mike Moustakas contract that they would love to part with. In your guys' opinion, just to speak more speculative right now, because I'm curious, if the Mets were going to still trade for potentially a pitcher, I'm saying this just for the sake of the fact that both these teams are in fire sale mode. If the Mets are going to trade with either one of them, which team would you prefer that the Mets trade with still? Do you prefer that the Mets would trade with the A's again after landing Chris Bassit? You want another piece there or two? Or would you prefer that the Mets trade with the Reds? I'm really curious. I want to know what your opinion is in the chat, guys. I just want to see what you're feeling, to be quite honest with you. Just because I'm very curious to see where those players are going to land, regardless on if the Mets will be involved or not. Let me know, Reds or A's, which team would you prefer? So Grom will be a free agent next year? Yeah, because the Mets are going to make him the richest player in baseball. That's why. And rightfully so. Okay. Good mix. I like that. Love that. Because again, I would be you guys probably, if most of you guys have been probably on the channel for a little bit, you know how I feel about both sides here. Castillo or Molly, I lose my mind over Montas or Manai. I would be more than satisfied with. So to answer a question though from Christian, I hope that the Mets make a move tonight. I'll actually put up a poll right now, just ask you guys a little bit here. Give me 1 second. And we're close to 300 likes already, so thank you guys so much for that. Continue smashing that like and subscribe on, as always. Appreciate it. Stove has been hot today. Moves are definitely happening tonight. I will not stand at the idea that nothing happens tonight, but it'll be funny because if you're watching this on replay right now, then there's a maybe they did not do anything, not just for the Mets, but across the league. I think that more moves are happening tonight. It's been hot, especially, after the weekend, teams getting themselves wrapped up and figured out. So give me 1 second, though. Okay. Going to put up a poll real quick. All right, folks, a poll is up in the live stream. Please make sure to answer that right away for me. And in case you guys are unaware, my thoughts again about what happened today, just spring training for the Mets overall, make sure to check out the earlier live stream. It's only a half hour long. I cropped it. If you guys were chiming into the entire thing, thank you. But obviously, if you watch on replay and say nothing happens, I know that you guys probably don't want to watch just, answering questions for a couple hours straight. So it's just like a half hour long if you guys want to check it out, because I really deep dive, obviously Alonso a little bit further and just Cano and everything that all the takeaways that we got from what transpired today in Mets camp. Andrew McCutchen signed with the Milwaukee Brewers. Yes. MLB trade rumors Twitter. Okay, I will check MLB trade rumors Twitter. Pete Alonso is ranked as the 6th best first baseman in baseball right now, folks. Oh, pardon me, 5th, not 6th. They have Freddie Freeman at number 1. They have Vladdy Guerrero Jr., who's soon to be Freddie's teammate, at number 2, which is just so nuts. Morosi, I'll check Morosi in a second. Yeah, they have, again, I don't really care about these rankings too much, but they do have Pete Alonso as the 5th best first baseman in baseball right now. No new tweet from Morosi, by the way, guys. Oh, my mistake. You're right. I'm wrong. My notification didn't go off. Oh, okay. The Padres are not expected to pursue voiding Tatis Jr.'s contract, even though an injury sustained while operating a motorcycle could provide the basis for doing so. One major reason: the team values its long-term relationship with a superstar player. No shit. The lockout is another factor. In theory, the Padres would need to prove the December accident caused the scaphoid bone fracture in his left wrist. It took 3 months for Tatis to report any issues due to a delay in symptoms arising, the work stoppage, or both. The process of voiding a $340 million contract would be legally complicated even in the clearest of circumstances. Here, the lack of documentation from December make it even murkier. And in the end, the Padres value Tatis. They want to keep him. I mean, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure that one. I never would have thought that they would have voided the contract whatsoever. Major Cespedes vibe, a little bit of little Cespedes vibes, a little bit. I definitely got a little taste there for sure. All right, guys. So again, Mets bullpen. Lock it down. They're gonna land another piece, at least one more, right? They actually did just make the Ottavino signing official over the past hour. In case you guys didn't see that already, I actually freaked out for a second because I thought that Ottavino, when the Mets posted on Twitter, I thought it was a different move for whatever reason. I got nervous for a second, but the Mets are not done making moves. Whether they make moves tonight or not, we'll soon find out. Again, if you're watching this on replay, then maybe you definitely know by now if the Mets made more moves or not. But Morosi, again, he's just further talking about the Tatis situation. I don't need to touch on it anymore right now. But yeah, Winker, again, very strong. Very, very strong move for the Mariners. Castillo to the Rangers. That would be a fit for sure. Yeah, the Rangers definitely have capital to make that happen. They definitely have prospect capital. They absolutely do. Yeah, Rangers, I would say, are definitely a team to keep an eye on with one of the Reds or the A's. I know that the Twins have looked at Sean Manaea quite a bit, and one of him and Montas. Multiple teams want one of those starters or multiple from those two respective clubs. So, yeah, definitely keep an eye on the Rangers. They're definitely a team that stands out to me a little bit. Let's see. How are the Blue Jays paying everyone? Blue Jays have a lot of money. I want to forget that. Blue Jays have money to spend. Blue Jays are a wealthy organization. Rogers as a whole, they're loaded. So money isn't too much of an issue for the Blue Jays. But what they need to be wary of, obviously, is depending on what type of contracts they do. And this is what Jim at Ballcap Sports was telling me. I was on his live stream like a week ago. Was the fact that the Blue Jays have Vladdy Guerrero Jr., Bo Bichette. They got multiple big names that are going to be due for massive, and I mean massive extensions. So if they are going to commit to Freddie, okay. You just need to make sure that if you're committing to Freddie, that isn't a hindrance on you potentially, your future with Vladdy, Bo, and others. You got to make sure that isn't a problem. Obviously, I don't see them operating right now in the sense that it would be a problem because, again, those are the faces of the league for sure. Teoscar Hernandez, Yoli Gurriel, they have such a fun group there. They're doing a fantastic job. Let's see. Down to Mariners and Mets for Chris Bryant. Stop with the fake news, my guy. If we find out further on the KB front, we'll talk about it. Stop acting like you have sources. Kyle, if we get Freeman to Jays are the favorites, man, they are 1,000% favorites in the NL East. And that's more than okay with me. And that'll smack the Yanks right in the face. So sign me the heck up. I'm rooting for you, Jays. I'm rooting for you. Go Jays, go. I want Freddie to go there. If he's gonna go anywhere, I want him to go there. I don't want him on the Dodgers, and I don't want him on the Yankees. So if you're gonna put him anywhere, and that's a win, because that's an even further win. Because yes, I know that that Olsen is now with the Braves, but Freddie Freeman's a better player than Matt Olson. We all know that, and this isn't a slight on Matt Olson, but let's be honest here. Even with him being younger, he's not Freddie Freeman level. He has massive pop in his bat. His stance is crazy. Matt Olson is. Look, his leg. This is literally his stance. This is quite literally his batting stance, and he somehow pumps out, upwards of 40 bombs plus. But no, I'm still taking Freddie. You have an echo. That echo was probably just from my angle here. So give me 1 second. I will double check the audio quick, but it should be fine. Check. Yeah. No, the audio should be good. Check Trevor May's tweet. Okay, I will. Give me 1 sec, guys. I'm just checking the tweets and all that stuff. Again, appreciate everyone in here. Hope you guys are enjoying the live stream. Like I said, we got plenty to talk about. I'm drinking coffee right now, so I'm a little amped up. That's why I'm not going to get sleep tonight. I'm going to make sure that I do not miss a damn thing. We are ready. Let's go. Okay. Okay. Hold on. Oh, Trevor May said, I was flying from Seattle to West Palm today via Dallas. I'm in Oklahoma City. Yeah, May has been a little delayed trying to get a spring training because of the fact of, delays with the weather and stuff like that. He'll be there soon, though. Okay, let's see. We're basically the New York Athletics. Yeah, the Mets are. And I want all the Athletics. Give me them all. I would give me Mania. Again, I don't think it's going to happen. I think the Mets are done there. I do. Chris Bryant, I'm playing for Rockies. Absolutely not. I actually want to win. Stop the spam. My goodness gracious. My guy. You got to get in. I got to put you in the timeout. I'll give you a warning, okay? No spam in the chat unless it's warranted. Like where I ask you guys to spam. This is what happens when you have over 1,000 people in the live stream. People are going to act up, But let's see. Mets may be in on Correa. Again, the only way the Mets are going to like Correa is if they literally give him a record-breaking short-term deal, which, again, highly unlikely. I wouldn't read much into that at all. We'll see what happens. But, yeah, the Correa – what I will say is this, so, guys, players, while they're not going to rush deals, these blockbuster players on the market, they're not going to rush deals, don't get me wrong. We're still going to find out their destination fairly soon, though, especially with spring training starting. They want to be with a team at the end of the day. They want to make sure that they're getting acclimated in a facility and ready to go for the season. Again, for the big-name players, the ones that are destined to land on a big contract, they're not going to rush themselves, obviously, because this is their priority. This is quite literally their future, can be potentially their long-term future, their last big contract, maybe their first and their last big contract, but no less, they still are in a spot where spring training is basically here already. How long are they going to drag this out? That's why Freddie Freeman basically feels inevitable. that we will have an announcement on him either tonight or within the next day. And Freeman feels like it's got to happen now. Dodgers felt like the favorite. Blue Jays came in. We're saying, no, we're the favorite now. There's been multiple reportings to back it. Ant, how's it going? Please don't spam in the live stream. That's all I'm asking, buddy. Chances of Soler the Mets, quite literally little to none. If it changes, then okay. Then I was proven wrong. But it looks like the front runners for Soler are still a team like the Dodgers, like the Braves, and like some others for sure. But yeah, that's Soler not happening. Soler can't play defense, and he's a righty DH bat. The Mets are going to land a DH bat. The least that they should do is land a lefty DH bat, in my opinion. Let's see. Castellanos for DH, not going to happen. Castellanos is on a draft pick. Probably is going to be looking for upwards of a 5-year deal. Mets don't even sniff the idea. If it happens, I'll jump for joy. I love Nick Castellanos. He's one of my favorite players in the league. He's so much fun to watch. But I'm being a realist here. Mets have made it quite obvious they do not want to part with their first-round pick for something like that. We got the fake Jeff Passan. We got the fake Bob Nightingale on the live stream. You'll love to see it. And both of you guys have the fake news saying that Freddie's going to sign with the Dodgers. Now, it's funny because as I'm saying this, you might be watching this on replay by now thinking, oh, okay, the Dodgers already signed Freeman, so, you were wrong there. Could be true. But, again, right now, it looks like Freddie is going to go to Toronto if he does, in fact, go anywhere. I'm going to check my Twitter real quick, just refreshing everything, guys. You know the drill. But, again, God bless. Thank you so much for the kind words, Paul. Appreciate that. Everybody in the live stream, we've got 1,000 viewers. Help us get a 500 likes for the next short-term goal, folks. We're going to try to get to 1,000 likes by the end of the live stream. I know that is a tall task, but we will be going for a while, and I know you guys are amazing. So thank you so much in advance, and help us get a 15K subs. We just hit 14K yesterday. It took literally, 4 or 5 days to hit another 1,000 on the channel, which is amazing. And again, it's all because of your endless support. So again, guys, if you're new on the channel, but I'd like to briefly tell you who I am quick. Name's Tyler. You guys know me as Wardy. I do everything New York Mets content here on the channel. Largest Mets platform that you will find here on YouTube, not directly affiliated with the Mets or SNY. Grateful to say that. We're only a year and a half into YouTube. I cover every single thing that you will see regarding the New York Mets basically here on YouTube. Same thing with, of course, the MLB as a whole with what we're seeing with all these free agency rumors and trades. So just to let you guys know, you'll get endless content heading into the season. Plenty of content as well. We'll be doing some spring training content fairly soon to get some prospect coverage in there, get some Mets writers in here, reporters in there to share their thoughts, get some collaborations with Mets content creators that you guys know very well. Baseball content creators overall, plenty. We're going to be doing plenty of in-game live streams throughout the season, but quite often post-game live streams. Yes, we did talk about Eddie Rosario's Instagram story. So definitely check that out if you guys didn't see it. Again, it's just a little bizarre to see in the background him doing BP, but there's a ball buckets that they're throwing out of and has a Mets logo on it. And coincidentally enough, Eddie Rosario checks off the exact box if the Mets are going to land a depth lefty bat of an outfielder. And also, I have seen rumblings today from someone within the organization that, again, has been beyond credible throughout the offseason with intel that I've been given, that Eddie Rosario and the Mets have been in talks today. To what extent, we'll find out. Again, if you don't want to believe me, that's perfectly fine. All I'm saying is, again, if the Mets land Eddie Rosario, don't be surprised. The Mets do something a little bit more drastic. That'd be awesome. That would be more of a surprise. But, I'm all in. Carlos Correa will sign with an MLB team eventually, according to sources. Yeah, that's John Heyman in a nutshell, just rehashing, saying the same shit over and over again. We all kind of know the drill by now for sure. Let's see. Hold on, folks. Just checking Twitter real quick. Yeah, nothing new at the moment. Yes, rest in peace to Scott Hall. I know that he unfortunately passed away. Thoughts with him and his family. Let's see. Okay. Love Eddie. I'm also see. Here's the thing about J Bros. It's fine because I really, really liked Eddie Rosario during his time with the Twins, and I thought the Twins were foolish to let him go for nothing. Went to the Indians when they were the Indians, not the Guardians now. Had a very underwhelming time during his time in Cleveland. Got traded for quite literally a bag of balls, otherwise known as Panda, that being in Pablo Sandoval. They literally cut Panda right as they acquired him, that being Cleveland. Then Eddie just casually goes on to be a 300-plus hitter with the Braves once he came back from his injury, because he was injured when he got traded originally, and was a playoff MVP. So it's just they had magic going. They absolutely did. But Eddie has been a clutch player throughout his entire career. Again, low on base, has good pop in his bat, Has decent glove, nothing drastic, nothing that's going to, make you be like, wow, that's crazy. But again, for what you could argue the Mets need, outfield-wise, depth-wise, their outfield's set. But if you can land another bat that gives you more diversity there, that is an upgrade from Khalil Lee and Nick Plummer, because you don't know what you're getting with them this season, sign me up. Not a bad thing. What about Pham? I really like Tommy Pham. I have heard rumblings about his clubhouse personality. There's, some speculation there on if, it's a good or a bad thing. I don't know the details personally. So I'm more of a casual on that front in regards to what has maybe transpired. But I will say that Tommy Pham feels like the type of player that Buck Showalter would thrive with. But Tommy Pham is also a righty bat. He is a very good on base guy. Don't get me wrong. I would like Tommy Pham. But the Mets, if they are going to land a bat, it does feel like a lefty is probably more likely than a righty. Again, all depends on circumstance, but we'll see. How long have I been a Mets fan? My entire life. You should remove Brad Hand from the Phillies connections. He's from the connections. Oh, did I not remove? Oh, I'm an ass. I'm sorry. I thought I removed Hand from the reportedly connected list already. I did not, because I'm just a schmuck. So I apologize for that. I'll do it in a little bit. And Dev, no need to spam. Please stop spamming. Again, I warned you. But yeah, that's the thing. I thought that I took Hand out of the reportedly connected earlier. I'm just an ass, and I did not. So my apologies. I'll do it at some point. Let's see. Okay. If you eat chicken nuggets on stream, the Mets will sign Chafin. No, it's not going to happen tonight. I'm sorry. Let's see. Interest keeps kicking me out of the stream. Oh, internet, Scott. Oh, my mistake. Great member on the channel. Thank you for being here. Let's see. Why would Nimmo be gone? Nimmo wasn't going to be gone. I don't know what you're talking about. Nimmo's going to be in the corner outfield for the Mets, more than likely. I hope. That's how you eliminate injuries. Put Nimmo in his more natural position in left field versus center. What are the chances we get Carlos, slim to none? Bryant, not great. Any rumblings on Conforto? Not with the Mets. Not with the Mets. Plenty rumblings with Conforto, but not with the Mets. Phillies, Rockies, even though the Rockies look like they're prioritizing KB more than anyone right now. Mariners, Diamondbacks, White Sox. I'm sure there's a couple more in there too. I'm sure the Cubs would be part of that group as well. Do I think the Mets will release Cano this year? As of now, it's not going to happen. Maybe at some point, but no, it doesn't look like it's going to happen as of now. Anything can change though. Obviously, if he just is terrible, and can't provide bat speed to ball skills that you would want from someone that's going to be having some type of impact for your team. Let's see. Thoughts on the Mariners trade? Yeah, I touched on that already, but yeah, great trade. Mariners easily won that trade. Oh, Eddie, I'm taking everything off of Twitter. That's the whole point. Yeah, that's 1,000% the point. Everyone that's watching the live stream knows exactly what we're doing here. I'm quite literally no different than you guys. I'm just sharing my input, letting you guys know what happens, trying to stay up to date as humanly possible, and sharing my own personal opinion and analysis, and also your opinion and analysis when moves happen, reactions. That's the whole part of being a part of a baseball community. So yes, I don't think there's many people in the live stream right now that don't have an idea of what they're watching. Let's see. Yes, I'm aware of the Alonso car crash. Again, thank God he's okay. He was clearly frazzled, and he's, that's something emotionally, mentally is going to wear on him for a bit. That's a traumatic event to take place. So I just pray for his case. That Eddie, no, it's okay, Eddie. It's okay. Let me put it this way. For Alonso, thank God he's okay. Again, Halo. Thank you so much for the kind words. Just please stop spamming, Halo. I appreciate that. Just don't spam. That's all I ask. It's a good spam, but don't spam. Just because I know a lot of people are trying to talk in here. But thank you, though. I appreciate the compliment. Point I'm trying to make about Alonso again, though, is he's someone where thankfully he's okay. The guy was already taking grounders today, which is absolutely nuts after getting in the accident that it was to kick his window shield out. I knew he was driving a truck too, not that I thought he would have been hurt if he was, regardless. But as soon as he said that he rolled over 3 times, like not a scratch on him, I'm like, he's 1000% driving a truck. And he said, shout out Ford for, great engineering, was in a lifted truck as expected. So thankfully it seemed like that helped him. But point I'm trying to make with Alonso is when you have a traumatic, I should say, something like that happen to you, that is something that's going to weigh on you for a decent period of time. And that's something you're never going to forget either. So we're going to see what happens. I'm sure Pete's going to be fine, but I'm hoping for his sake, truly, that, it doesn't wear on him as hard as I'm sure it probably is right now. Because again, that's not an easy thing to just try to snap your fingers and you'll be ready to go again when you have a near-death experience. And he was obviously humbled and grateful that he was here today. But again, just beyond scary stuff with what transpired with Pete. Thank God he's okay. I cannot say that enough. Rosario's friends with Lindor also. Eddie, that's definitely good. That's definitely good to hear. The same 41 in the home run derby. That's a good question. I actually don't know the answer. I do not know the answer to that. I don't think the Ford was it a Ford truck in the home run derby? If so, maybe. I don't know. I don't remember what the truck was, what the Ford was in the home run derby. I don't remember. And yes, I'm well aware that Brian is very close to Harper because they're both Las Vegas natives. I know he's been advocating for him. But the Phillies, I don't know. I will say this, though. Even if the Mets don't land a big bat, if the Phillies don't either, then I am all smiling, ear to ear. You'd have to imagine the Phillies are going to land one of Chris Bryant, Kyle Schwarber, Michael Conforto, Nick Castellanos, even Jorge Soler to a lesser extent. If the Phillies do not land any of those pieces, that would be awesome. I'm not going to lie, from a Mets fan perspective. I hope they don't land anyone. If they don't land any of those, that'll be Phillies offseason in a nutshell. Let's see. Louis, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. Hi in the chat for Louis. Rosario would bring great energy and attitude to the club. He could be a difference maker. Sign him. I like the positivity, Louis, for sure. Yep, there's definitely plenty of positives if the Mets are going to sign Eddie Rosario. Again, not trying to get my hopes up. I was talking a lot about Jock Peterson yesterday. Jock Peterson is probably going back to the Braves from the reports we saw today. Again, everything's flowing. Anything can happen. John Heyman over an hour ago. Not sure if I covered it. I'm sure I probably did. I'll double check, but I don't think I missed anything of new reports. Louis, I should say. Lewis. Why am I can't even speak right now. I'm so sorry. I apologize. I'm a schmuck. My mistake. I don't know why that took me so long. It's one of those three for sure. Thank you so much again, Mr. Esposito. I think that's what I will say for the donation. Okay. Let's see here. Michael White, thank you so much for the donation as well. I do plan on going to Citi Field numerous times this year. Yes. It'll all be indicative on obviously how much coverage I'm doing on the channel, and obviously also how much I can afford to go to games, because YouTube's my full-time thing. So, I don't live in New York either, so those trips do get a little costly going from PA to New York. So again, it'll all be indicative on those things. So we'll see. I went to, in total, not just at Citi Field, but overall with Mets games, I went to 16, I think, last season. So definitely went to a bunch overall. I'm excited to hopefully do that again. Michael says, you think the Mets are just waiting for the big names to get signed before they trade Dom and JD to maximize the deal? Let me reread that again. You think the Mets are just waiting for the big names to get signed? I don't know about that one, to be honest with you, Michael. I don't know how much of a factor the big names are in deciding if they're trading Dom and or JD, to be quite honest with you. That's a fair point. And I will say this, we have seen, and I've been preaching this a lot, with all the signings and moves that have happened, at least a lot of them, the bigger ones, they've been happening in bunches. It's like when one big signing happens or trade, others follow right away, which tells you that there are a certain amount of teams dependent on the decisions of other clubs, because they're either trying to go after those same players initially, and then it ends up not happening, so they pivot elsewhere. Or they were trying to do a trade with a specific team, and we're wondering if that deal is going to go through or not. So you could be right. I honestly don't know. I really don't know right now, Michael. I will say that again, if the Mets are going to trade guys, JD Davis, Dom Smith are at the forefront of those discussions. And Dom, Oakland A's needed first baseman. The Athletic came out with an article today saying how Dom Smith feels like a very likely fit, a very strong fit, I should say. So we'll see exactly how long their future is in Queens. Am I going to the home opener? More than likely, no, but I am probably going to Scherzer's debut in the second game of the season in DC. So if you guys are going to that game, you'll probably be able to catch me there. I'll keep you guys updated. I'll vlog it more than likely if I go. So again, we'll see. Does J-Ram get traded? I think it's possible, but what we're seeing right now with probably J-Ram's most likely suitor, that being Toronto, J-Ram is not being prioritized right now, at least from what we're seeing, because they're focusing on Freddie Freeman and Kyle Schwarber. Where does Story go? Good question. Good question. It feels like St. Louis is really becoming a sneaky nice fit for them to repair things with Arenado again. But you also have the Red Sox have been chiming in on Story for a little bit now. The Yankees, there's still been rumblings. The Twins, they've shown interest in Story. A bunch of teams. And what it's going to come down to with Story is the term of his contract. Is he going to sign a short-term deal? Is he going to sign a longer-term deal? Long-term, I feel like potential. And don't spam. That's all I ask in the chat, guys. Unless I'm asking for you to answer questions, please don't spam. Story feels like the perfect fit for Houston if they lose Carlos Correa. I've been saying it every day in these live streams for sure. So if Correa leaves Houston, I would assume that they would really like someone like Trevor Story, cheaper option, and a Texas native. So it makes a lot of sense there as to why that would transpire. Daniel, my friend, thank you so much for chiming in. You say Rosenthal. I'll check to see if I missed any tweets here. Nothing new on the Rosenthal front. How do I feel about Mitch Trubinsky? Yeah, no, I'm a Steelers fan, in case you guys don't know. I'm content. I don't really care. You know, Mitch is going to be their short-term quarterback option. I mean, you know, it is what it is. No sweat off my back. I do say chime in and folks so much. Yes, I do. Yes, WardyNYM. I wonder where you got the name from. What position does Eddie Rosario play? He plays the outfield. And I can tell you exactly how many at-bats, games, I should say, he had in all positions. So, yeah, he's basically a left fielder completely. He had 100 games in left field last season, had 6 at DH and 1 in right field. So the defensive versatility isn't to a level that maybe you would want, but, you know, it is what it is. Brendan, thank you so much for the donation. I appreciate that. Hype in the chat for Brendan. I know a very difficult question to answer, but if we trade Dom to the A's, what do you think want the trade packages to look like? If the Mets are going to trade Dom to the A's, I think what it would honestly look like more is that they land Sean Manaea, for the sole reason that Sean Manaea is, one, someone that the Mets can still benefit from in this rotation, and two, he's a rental. He's a rental. Look at what the Mets gave up for Chris Bassit. You're looking at a similar type of return if you land Sean Manaea. Wouldn't be much different. The only drastic difference could be potentially his market, because I know multiple teams like Sean Manaea right now. But you can have Dom Smith as one of the key assets going back to the A's. And I know that they would value him higher than maybe some other clubs, because they automatically have an open spot for him to be their everyday first baseman. Dom Smith has gold glove potential. He's always been a great defender. And again, is a bounce back candidate. Absolutely. And isn't a free agent until 2025. So he wouldn't be the only thing you have to give up for Sean Manaea. Would have to add another piece or a prospect. But point is that if a trade's going to happen with the A's again, I think there's a decent argument you can make that you would go after someone like Sean Manaea, because again, it doesn't hurt to have the pitching. Mets would get that lefty again. And yes, I know that you have Cookie Carrasco and Taijuan Walker. Taijuan might not be ready for the season. So especially if he isn't, it makes sense. And then you can maybe battle things out. Maybe you're going to have a non-man out. Maybe you're going to figure out what you want to do with Cookie. Maybe you don't feel comfortable enough with him. maybe it's going to warrant you to potentially trade a pitcher. Maybe you want to go with a 6-man rotation. Not that I think it's going to happen, but again, if you're going to trade Dom to the A's, as much as I would love Matt Chapman, I just don't see Matt Chapman happening unless the Mets already move Jeff McNeil separately. There isn't a room right now for Matt Chapman because Eduardo Escobar is at third base. McNeil is at second. You're not going to have Escobar as your everyday DH option because you already have DH options, and Robinson Cano, like it or not, is a part of that discussion. So that's my kind of response. Again, could be wrong, but that's just how I feel. I don't think the Mets are going to land another big starter, but I could definitely see that making sense for both sides. Ed Dom was on the forefront of a Sean Manaea deal.